Good evening, everyone. So we have got Jonathan Trott, the Afghanistan head coach, for the press conference today. We'll start with the questions, by raising your hand, though. Just
Right, who's first? Evening, everyone, I should say.
Yeah, good evening.
Hello.
So in such weather conditions, how do you see you plan yourself when you might have to field your team for 5-7 odd overs to play?
Yeah, I think shortened versions. I think you're seeing shortened versions of the game all around the world as well. There's T10, and our players are pretty experienced in those formats. So whatever the scenario would have been, we would have been very confident in being able to take the game on. But it was pretty wet as well, and I think being the second game, and since it's kept on raining, it was always going to be a washout. Unfortunately, I think it would have been a great game. The crowd had turned up as well for us. And we were looking forward to taking on a strong New Zealand side.
Just your thoughts on this group. It's been blown wide open now. What does that mean for Afghanistan, do you think?
No, it's all to play for. We got another game here on Friday afternoon against a side who just beat England, who you would say is one of the favourites. So it shows how just unpredictable this pool is going to be and how strong it is, I think. And the strength of cricket that these sides have. So that's going to be a great group, and then hopefully we can get a win on Friday afternoon, and then go on down to Brisbane, which will be another tough game. So exciting, but a lot of cricket ahead for us and some important cricket.
And I know obviously you're here with your Afghanistan hat on, literally, but just your thoughts on the previous match. And England having lost to Ireland in a way that obviously they're very disappointed with.
Well, I didn't get to see much of it. I saw a little bit of it at the beginning, but then we had a couple of meetings before the game, then travelled to the ground, and then got to the ground, and then we started trying to warm up. So our warm-ups were delayed, so we were outside at the back warming up in the net. So I didn't get to see much of it. I haven't really seen the dismissals. I've seen a few of the Ireland dismissals because we were watching when we arrived. So that's all I've really seen. So. And it looked quite tight. I'm not quite sure. I think England lost a wicket just before it rained, and that may have helped. I don't know, Duckworth Lewis. I'm not sure how that planned out, how close it was. I think it was 5 runs in the end, am I right? So a close game, and just shows the strength of this group and how tough a match it's going to be on Friday for us.
Hi, it's a small sample size, but for now in this group, New Zealand look like they're probably the form side in this particular group, and that's the game that you've had washed out. So I was just wondering, do you view it almost like a bullet dodged or a point gained, because this gives you a chance to maybe make an impression and get a few points on board against the so-called weaker sides, and get a point against New Zealand that you might not otherwise have been fancied to get?
No, I wouldn't say that at all. I would have said it would have been nice to have played New Zealand, and the guys got the experience of playing at the MCG and hopefully got a win, so that we're very confident going into a game like Ireland are going to be for Friday afternoon. So it would have been nice to have had the opportunity to get those points. Like Ireland, we've seen the unpredictability, so I think for you to say it's a bullet dodged is doing a little bit disservice to the guys in my change room. So that's the way I look at it. But we've got a day tomorrow to prepare for Ireland, and we're going to use it really well.
And in terms of this being a group where obviously on paper Australia, New Zealand, England look like the form sides initially, how ambitious are you, or how much are you allowing your players to dream in terms of we can make the semis, or are you just looking at it one game at a time?
I think you want the players to dream, and you want to have that dream for them to work towards. That you got to have that end goal, but it's about how we go about each individual game and the way that we prepare ourselves and get ready for it. So I think in Australia, each ground has its own characteristics or its own uniqueness, which is great for the boys and experience. We've got a few guys who've played in the Big Bash and can share their experience from playing all around the country. I know the guys are looking forward to playing against Ireland, who we've played recently before the Asia Cup. So we know them well and they'll know us well, so I think it's going to be a good game. Hello, mate.
Jonathan, a couple of years now, Afghanistan have come straight through the Super 12s. With the great, guess it's a question about cricket in general and how the world game's going. But after watching a great first week of the tournament with some of the with some of the other nations there. How do you assess the strength of the game in associate cricket?
I think it's really good. I think the players, we're seeing a lot of associate players playing all around the world in these leagues. I think, but the other thing is you want to look after the game as well, and you want to expand it to the other formats as well, and that get the attention it deserves, and the spreading of the game in the 50 over and the Test match. We've seen Ireland now advance into the Test match arena and have some good games, but it's a slow process, and I think you've got to do it. You've got to be ambitious. But you don't want to, get ahead of yourself with regards to that. But you've got to make sure the infrastructure in your country is sound, that you can produce cricketers who can play all formats of the game. So I think with regards to T20, there's so many leagues around the world or tournaments that players from all around the world will be getting experience and making their nation stronger. So I think it's really good. We had a good competitive series against Ireland, preparing us for the Asia Cup, which gave us great preparation, and we started the Asia Cup really well. So that shows the strength of the Ireland side and the challenge we've got on our hands and the exciting game we have on our hands on Friday afternoon.
Sure. You have some absolute superstars in your team as far as players are concerned, with Rashid Khan and Nabi, who play on the world stage in the franchise leagues.
Mujib.
Mujib and the rest, there's quite a few of them. You also have some of them who are not so experienced. So how does that team gel in their dressing room? What is the kind of exchange of information that goes on?
Well, I think it's no better place for players who have the same ambition and talent that we do have in the side to play with the likes of those two names and the one name I mentioned. And I think that the challenges for us as coaches and for them is to become players similar to their capabilities or go on and have their records that contribute to the Afghan side, but also around the world and various sides that they play in. We certainly have the talent, so it's our jobs now to just keep producing these players. But they're not going to play forever. So we've got to get a conveyor belt and convert the talent that we have and the sort of promise that these players have, and actually turning out and winning games for Afghanistan or putting in fantastic performances. So the word potential for me doesn't really sit well. That means that you're nearly there but not quite. It's about guys becoming cricket players and household names like the handful of players we have.
And your own experience in the role so far, how's that been?
It's been good. I think it's it's always different with regards to cultures and the way that you've been brought up and thought about the game and the conditions that you've been brought up in that comes naturally to players. So to see them to come to Australia and the attitude that we've seen, taking on these conditions, I think it's only fantastic. It's only going to help players going forward. So when they get the opportunity to play in the likes of Australia, New Zealand, England, where the conditions are a little bit foreign or different, that they can go there and excel. So I'd like to see a few more of the Afghanistan players in all the leagues, but also Big Bash, the 100 or the Blast in England, and obviously in New Zealand's T20 sort of tournament. So the more players we can get playing, the better, and growing the game in Afghanistan.
Thank you.
Cheers. All good.
Any more questions?
Thanks, guys.
Yep, thanks.